TIL. A loophole in Catholic rules allows some priests to be married. If a priest or pastor in an Eastern or Protestant church was already married and then converts to Catholicism, he is still eligible to seek Catholic priesthood. Grew up extremely Catholic and went to Catholic school, church retreats, Catholic summer camps, even went to Washington, D.C. to protest abortion once. I've probably met thousands of priests and I only ever met one who was married. He was a cool dude, but to be honest it's not easy being a priest and being married. Priests have a lot of responsibilities people don't think about. They are essentially on call 24/7 for parishioners who need religious coinciding or just someone to talk to. They organize youth groups, perform sacraments like confessions, adoration, and they take communion to elderly or sick people who can't make it to Mass on Sunday. I'm not Catholic, or religious, anymore, but I've seen a lot of what they do and it's not nothing. Yep, went to a Catholic high school. My religion teacher was married to a priest. He was Episcopalian and converted, or maybe Presbyterian, with E. Priests should be allowed to marry. If two priests are in love, they should have that right. The whole idea that priests should not be married derived from the Apostle Paul, who was simply stating in 1 Corinthians that it's easier not to be married so that you wouldn't have to be concerned for a family as you traveled from region to proselytize and establish churches. He also made it clear the ability to be unmarried was a gift, and not something everyone could do. So by no means was Paul's suggestion an edict, he also made that clear. I wish that all men were as I am. But each man has his own gift from God. One has this gift, another has that. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 7. In fact, Paul spoke about how he'd sacrificed being married to serve the church and pointed to other of Christ's apostles who were, in fact, married. Don't we have the right to take a believing wife along with us, as do the other apostles and the Lord's brothers and Cephas, Peter, 1 Corinthians 9-5. Paul willingly gave up his right to have a wife to better serve the church. It's not a loophole but in this specific case an insult edit. Indult, i.e. a valid exception. Please also note that the Catholic Church has many rites, of which the Latin one is the biggest. Catholics in Western Europe, Africa, Americas, usually are Latin Catholic. Latin priests are always celibate, with the exception of transfers from Anglicans. There are also many other rites: Greek Catholic in Western Ukraine, Coptic Catholic in Egypt and Ethiopia, Maronites in Lebanon, Syriac in India, Chaldean in Iran and Iraq, etc. All these rites have married priest. Bishops and monks are always singles. Each rite is headed by a patriarch, who also are usually cardinals. The Pope is directly patriarch of the Latin Rite. So the celibate priest model is just one discipline followed by the Latin Rite in the Catholic Church. Can't divorce rule. Presumably some of the apostles were married and couldn't divorce under Jesus, though they could have done under Moses. The only reason they started telling them they couldn't marry was because the parish property was in the priest's name, and if they didn't have a son who became a priest it could transfer to the family. All the rules lead back to money. If I remember right, the whole not marrying thing was put in place during the later Middle Ages so that when priests died they wouldn't have a family to give land or money to. So it all went back into the church coffers. It's not a loophole, it's explicitly permitted. The discipline of celibacy is only for the Roman Rite. It is not a doctrine nor dogma. All the other rites can have married priests far more regularly than merely married priests joining the Roman Rite. Eastern Catholics, making up about 2% of Catholics, to be clear, also have married priests, aside from converts. In other words, someone can be born and raised Eastern Catholic, marry, and become a priest. Widowed men can also go on to become priests. And hopefully less likely to diddle. It's not a loophole. The rule of priests not marrying applies to the Roman Catholic Rite, but not others. Greek Catholic, among others, which are still part of the Catholic Church, have married priests no problem. Priests remaining celibate isn't a core idea to the Catholic faith, so to say. A pope ordered this rule I think in the 9th century or so, and priests in the Roman Catholic Rite follow it by virtue of obedience. Big thing in the Catholic Church. But there really isn't anything stopping the pope from removing this restriction at some point. That's why if an Anglican priest converts to Catholicism, and already has a wife, and desires to continue his priestly ministry, he can do so. It's like those fabulous deals that service providers and cable companies offer, but only to new customers. Deals that do not apply to longtime, loyal customers. It's based on apostolic succession. There's a limited number of Christian denominations that can claim it, And if you're a priest from one of those denominations, you can convert and keep your family. The priest at my local parish was married. He was an Episcopal before, I believe. It was interesting seeing his wife and kids at Mass while he's the priest. He passed away a few years ago.